G'day, I'm currently sponsoring my fiancee from the Philippines to Australia. And I want to talk to you a little bit about online advice. Now, this is whether you do it yourself or you use a migration agent, the same applies. You need to be careful about who you're listening to because their experiences and their advice may not be at all relevant to your situation. But rather than having to look at me, I'm going to run a little slideshow of my beautiful fiancée, soon to be reunited here in Australia. Early last year, I saw a post in an online group from someone asking for recommendations for an Australian migration agent. It was at a time when I was starting my application process. I recommended Down Under Visa. I had met Jeff from Down Under Visa a couple of times and was aware that he is the most successful migration agent operating in the Philippines. And even more importantly, Jeff is a registered Australian migration agent. There was another person that responded to the request and ignored the actual request of the poster. He insisted that using a migration agent was a complete waste of money and everyone should do it themselves. He had done it himself a few years ago and described it as a painless and easy process. Just follow the instructions on the Australian immigration website, he said. I got rather annoyed with his response for a number of reasons. For a start, the original poster was not asking if he should do it himself. He had already decided to use a migration agent and now wanted recommendations. Maybe he was time poor and happy to pay someone else to handle it for him. Maybe he felt intimidated by the process or just not confident being able to prepare the application himself. Maybe he understood the process and wanted to avoid dealing with the Australian immigration directly. After living in the Philippines for a period of time, this is how I felt. I have dealt with Australian immigration on 2 previous occasions, and while I'm more than capable than most to do it myself, it was these previous experiences that made me choose to use a registered migration agent this time. But there is a more compelling reason to use a registered migration agent than all those I've mentioned so far. If you want to get your partner out in the shortest possible time, in almost every case, an experienced migration agent is going to get a visa approval faster than a self-submitted application. Mistakes are costly in both time and money, so doing it yourself can potentially cost more, as well as taking longer. The thing that annoyed me most about this person giving the advice to do it yourself was that he inferred that if you use a migration agent, you are either lazy or stupid. I suggested that everyone's circumstances are different and that there are requirements you will not find on the website. And I have remembered this online conversation each time I was asked to provide something that wasn't mentioned on the website. And there've been more than a dozen such things. Anyone about to start the process, either doing it themselves or using a migration agent, needs to understand that Australian immigration have the discretion to pretty well ask for anything they want, as long as they can frame it as satisfying some concern about the application. We had hoped that what we provided with the initial application would be sufficient, but this was not the case. Just over 2 months ago, Australian Immigration sent a list of additional requirements with a deadline of only 28 days to provide them. The problem was my fiancée Vanessa was already in Australia on a tourist visa. After a week of trying to arrange things remotely, we soon realised that she had to go back to arrange these things personally. We requested and received an extension of time to provide them. And right now, as I'm speaking, Vanessa is in Manila attempting to complete the final requirements. She is currently at the MBI office in Manila to get a police clearance. But she's not getting an MBI clearance for herself. We have already provided that. She's getting one for me. Because I spent a few years living in the Philippines, Australian Immigration decided I needed to get a Philippines police clearance. in addition to the Australian Federal Police clearance I have already provided. My clearance letter from the Philippines Immigration, which is a check for any outstanding warrants etc. when you leave the country, was not sufficient. So again, another example of why this guy, who is advising everyone to do it themselves because it's easy and everything is on the official website, is wrong. While it can be helpful to listen to other people's experiences, it's not wise to base your application on theirs. Your circumstances and the requirements may be very different. A registered migration agent understands what Australian immigration may ask for better than anyone else. They understand what Australian immigration are looking for and what could potentially concern them. If you want your partner out in the quickest possible time, then I recommend using a registered migration agent. For us, the process is almost over. This morning, Vanessa will pick up my MBI clearance. This afternoon, Vanessa has booked the mandatory seminar required by the Commission for Overseas Filipinos. By the end of today, we should be done.